Okay, so number 15 on the worksheet says tell whether the lines through the given points are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So you start out with your points, -3, 4, and 1, 2. And then you also have 6, 2, and 8, 1. So to figure out if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither, you have to find out the slope. So what is the formula for slope? Yep. So it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here's our y2 and y1. So 2 minus 4 over x2 minus x1. So 1 minus a minus 3 becomes 1 plus 3, right? So then 2 minus 4 is -2, and 1 plus 3 is 4, and that reduces to -1/2. Then over here, you're going to start with your y2 minus y1, so 1 minus 2, over x2 minus x1, okay? So 1 minus 2 is -1, and 8 minus 6 is 2, so that is also -1/2. So if your slopes equal, what does that mean about your lines? Yep, that means they're parallel. Charlotte Ann, you asked, is the answer to number 16 line 2? So how do we know which line is steeper? What do we have to do for those points? Yep, we have to find the slope and we have to compare the slope. So what is the slope for line 1? Okay, so the slope for line 1, you're right, is 3. And then what's the slope for line 2? And 6 over 4 reduces to what? 3/2. So think about that when you're graphing, okay? If you have, let's see if I can do this. Okay. So here's my X and Y axis, okay? If I'm going to start here, oh, that's a dark green. Okay. And I need to graph something with a slope of 3. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. And then up 3 and over 1, like this, okay? So my line's going to look something like that, okay? Now, if I'm going to do a slope of 3 over 2, I'm going to go up 3 and over 2. Or I guess it would be more like here, okay? And then from there, up 3 and over 2. And then from there, up 3 and over 2. So then my line would look like this. Now, which one of those is steeper? Yeah, line 1 is steeper. So what can we observe from that to apply to the rest of the problems? If you look at the slope of line 1, it's 3. And if you look at the slope of line 2, it's 3/2. So the bigger the number, the steeper the slope. You're welcome. Okay, Madison, what's your question on number 12? Okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean that it's neither, Madison. What did you get for line 1? Okay, so let's take a look at it, okay? So for number 12, you have -5. Oh, shoot. Let's try that again. -5, 2. And then -3, 5. And you also have -2, 2, and 1, 0. Okay. So to find the slope of that first line, you're going to say y2 minus y1. So that's going to be 5 minus 2 over x2 minus x1. So that's a -3 minus a -5. And we have minus minus, that becomes a plus. Okay. So 5 minus 2 is 3. And -3 plus 5 is going to be 2. Okay, so then when you work out line number 2, you're going to start with y2 minus y1, so 0 minus 2, over x2 minus x1, so 1 minus a minus 2. Again, minus minus is going to be plus. So that's going to equal -2 over 3. Now, when you look at those two fractions, they're not the same, okay? But are they opposite reciprocals? Okay, so what does that mean? Yep, that means they are perpendicular. You're welcome. Okay. Number 1, Isabel, on the worksheet. So you're supposed to find the slope of the line that passes through those 2 points, okay? So if you have point A, which is right here, okay? And then you have point B, which is here. The coordinates for A are 0, 0, right? And then the coordinates for B are 2, 2. So now we have to find the slope of those. Now the formula for slope, you'll remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? And that's m is slope, okay? So now you're going to take the coordinates of those 2 points and plug into that formula. So we can say our y2 could be this one, and our y1 would be this. So 2 minus 0. And then x2 minus x1 is going to be 2 minus 0 again, right? So 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 minus 0 again is 2. So that reduces to 1. So your slope for those 2 points is 1. You're welcome. Okay, Charlotte Ann. So for number 23, if we start there, you have point A here and point B here. Okay. And then there's this line that goes through them. Or sorry, I guess B is here. There's this line that goes through them here. And then it gives you point P, which is right here. And you have to graph a line that's parallel to AB that passes through point P. So in order to find if a line is parallel to AB, what do we have to know? So how do we figure out the slope of AB then? Yep, that's right. You have to find the coordinates of the points and then plug those into your formula, y sub 2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what's our coordinate for point A? All right, it's 1, 1. And then what's our coordinate for point B? Three, 5. So what you need to do now is plug that into your formula. So you're going to have 5 minus 1 over 3 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4, and 3 minus 1 is 2, and that reduces to 2. So your slope is 2, right? Okay, so now you're going to start with this point down here, your point P, okay? And you're going to use this slope of 2 and graph your line. So a slope of 2 means that you're going to need to go up 2 and over 1, and then up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1. You can go down 2 and to the left 1 also, okay, so that you can extend your line. And then you're just going to connect those dots. Does that make sense? So then number 27, the only difference is that you need to graph a line that's perpendicular to AB. So what's the difference between parallel lines and perpendicular lines? Their slopes are opposite reciprocals, that's right. So you're going to follow that same process and find the slope for your line that contains points A and B. So what's your slope for that line? Okay, 7 over negative 2. So tell me, what's the coordinate for point A? The coordinate for point A is 4, negative 4. Sorry, negative 4, 4. Because you're going to go over to the left 4 and then up 4. Do you see it? Okay. So it's going to be okay. And then what's your point for B? Okay, it's not 2, negative 2. 2, negative 2 would be right here. So it's negative 2, negative 2. Because you went to the left and down. Okay, so that's probably what's throwing you off on that. Now try and find the slope. Because the signs are going to make all the difference there. Right, it's negative 3. Because you did negative 2 minus 4 over negative 2 plus 4 because it's a minus minus 4. So that's going to give you a negative 3, right? So then what's the opposite reciprocal of negative 3? That's the same as having negative 3 over 1. So when you flip those, you're going to end up with 1 over 3, and that negative is going to become a positive, okay? So your new slope is 1/3. So now to graph that perpendicular line, you're going to start at your point P and then go up 1 and to the right 3. Up 1 to the right 3. Like that, okay? And then just connect your points. And you should carry this line through. Mine didn't go through. And there, that's how they intersect at a 90-degree angle. You're welcome. Isabel, you asked if it's possible to have 0 as a numerator, so 0 on top. And yes, that is possible because you could have something like 0 divided by 6, and that would be 0. You're welcome. Okay, Madison, so let's talk about number 30. It says a motocross ramp is 12 feet tall and 24 feet long. And you're supposed to tell what is the slope of the ramp. And then, so let's start with that, okay, for part A. What's the slope of the ramp? So if we talk about slope, it's your rise over run. So it's how much you go up over how much you go side to side, okay? So how much would you go up on that ramp? Okay, let me see if I can pull up the picture real quick. Okay, hold on. Okay, so if we're looking at the problem here, you don't necessarily have to have this on a graph to be able to see the slope. Just pretend that it is on a graph and that here's a point and here's a point, okay? So the rise on this point, you're going to go up 12 feet. And then your run is 24 feet. So if it's rise over run, then that's 12 over 24, which reduces to 1/2. Okay? Does that help? Yeah, 1/2 is the slope. So then for the next part of it, for part B, you have to assume if the motocross ramp was 16 feet tall, would it be more steep or less steep than a 12-foot tall ramp? So picture this, okay? If this is your 12-foot tall ramp, and now you're going to have a 16-foot tall ramp, instead of here, it's going to go up to, say, here, okay? So now your line is going to look something like that. So is that more steep or less steep than the one that's there already? Yes, more steep. You're welcome. Okay, so what's your question on 26, Charlotte Ann? Okay, so what's your slope of line AB? So then what is the opposite reciprocal of 1? Okay, -1. So if your slope here is 1, and your new slope is -1, and it's going to go through point P, right? You're going to start with P, and you're going to go over 1 and down 1, over 1 and down 1, over 1 and down 1, and then connect that line like that. Does that help? You're welcome. Isabel, the boxes for 3.4 and 3.5, you'll want the boxes for 3.4 on there for the quiz that you guys are going to take tomorrow. But you don't have to have 3.5 on there. You're not going to turn those in for a quiz grade tomorrow. You're going to actually take a quiz on paper tomorrow. When you turn the note cards in for the quiz grade, that will be next Friday when we take our chapter test. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question? Okay, good. I'm going to sign off in just a minute. Okay, Madison, I see your question. On number 25, you got 0 for the slope. Yeah, so for number 25, you have a horizontal line. So in order to graph a line that's perpendicular to that, you're going to need a vertical line for that. So you're just going to need one that goes straight up and down. You're welcome. Okay, Ethan, did you have any questions? Are you good? Okay, I'm going to sign off then, Ethan.